Hey guys. This is What If Gohan Was a Reincarnation Isekai Part 2. I do not own any media. Enjoy. I Am Gohan by Lord Phoenix. Chapter 4, Training 4. I'm tired. The boy lay on the grass panting from exhaustion after running around Mount Paz twice. He managed to complete that hell. He really never thought that training was so difficult. What he read in the manga did not represent at all the torture that he had to live this day. To think that I've only been running, but this dogi didn't make it easy for me. Gohan inquired, closing his eyes. He really wanted to go home. If this was an ordeal, he didn't want to imagine how difficult it would be to train in a gravity machine or else in a time room. Not to mention the rest of the scenarios where the Z fighters trained. Gohan understood that seeing it from television was another world. And Dad is addicted to training. That makes him admit it even more. The little boy reasoned, having such a small body doesn't help either. Goku sat next to him watching his son gasp for breath. It was normal, since it was Gohan's first time training. He followed closely, watching him from above with the flying cloud. He smiled with joy seeing how Gohan struggled to reach the finish line. Come on, Gohan. This was only the beginning. Didn't you want to get stronger? Goku asked with a big smile on his face, and the little boy looked at him. Of course, Dad. But, I never thought training could be so hard to train, Gohan stated, throwing his arms up for air. Goku's facial expression instantly turned serious. The boy noticed this and watched in bewilderment as his father stood up and peered at him. Of course it's difficult. If you don't try hard you'll never become strong, commented Goku, looking at his son, and for that, you have to get up, Gohan. Goku extended a hand to the boy, smiling candidly. Gohan's eyes sparkled with great admiration, and he took his father's hand in his. Thanks, Dad, I'll work hard, and you'll see that I'll get over you one day, Gohan commented with a smile, and the older one carried him on his back. Well, I won't make it easy for you, Head, Goku answered, equally smiling, and both father and son laughed out loud without knowing why. The older walked all the way home with Gohan sleeping on his back, and it was logical. He was very tired after training. The journey was not extremely long. After a few minutes Goku spotted his house and advanced a few meters. He arrived and opened the door. Then, we are already home. As usual, the older son announced his arrival, and a couple of seconds later his wife Kai Kai appeared before the two of them. My little, the woman exclaimed when she saw Gohan on Goku's back. May I know what you did with our son? She demanded. Goku swallowed when he saw the airy state of his wife, but Gohan himself got off his father's back to avoid major problems. It's nothing, Mom, I just ran and ended up tired, replied the boy with a smile. But I'm starving, he exclaimed suddenly. Me too, Kai Kai. Goku cried out in turn, putting his hands on his stomach, and the woman sighed, shaking her head at that. Okay. But first go take a bath, meanwhile I'll finish cooking, Kai Kai said, and father and son looked at each other smiling. Yes, very good. The two spoke in unison and went out of the house. They soon filled a large wooden bucket with water to bathe. Goku was the first to dive, and then Gohan, who felt quite a bit of relaxation in his muscles as he came into contact with the water. You will continue this training for 6 months, is that okay with you? Goku asked with a smile, and the younger hesitated for a few moments. Okay, I guess I'll get used to it, Gohan replied with a smile. There was something crucial to keep in mind, and that's why he accepted. Saiyans have a very powerful physique, and the S cells allow them to evolve constantly. If I continue at this rate for 6 months I will become very powerful, Gohan thought, smiling. He was quite happy about it. He didn't know how high his power would be, but it would be a breakthrough for him. He would only have another 6 months left before Raditz' arrival. I would need to polish my fighting style, have attacks and techniques, and further improve my ki domain, although it is in this last facet where I am doing best, he thought. And it was logical, since he came to this world he began to train his ki. He applied all his knowledge from the series to train himself. Dad, shall we have a contest to see who lasts the longest underwater? Gohan asked with a smile, and his father nodded vigorously. Whoever loses will give their food to the other. After this both submerged under the water. As expected, the one who won was none other than Time followed its natural course, and the 6 months passed quickly. In that period of time, the training didn't stop. Gohan was completing the same training routine. The first month was the most difficult, but from then on the boy managed to adapt. Seeing that his son trained much more easily, Goku decided to implement more things. For example, that he walked long distances dragging heavy loads such as rocks. That in the second month. It took Gohan weeks to get used to it, but thanks to Saiyan physiology, it was not impossible for him to perform that feat. Not only that, but the little one also swam in lakes. With his dogi on, Goku wanted him to get used to heavy clothing. And luckily Gohan learned to swim in his past life. Another thing he did was sets of sit-ups, squats and push-ups, all before starting each difficult exercise. That's how he lived the last 6 months, training much of the day. And at night he meditated, as always practicing his ki. He felt that he had really become powerful at this point, but he had no real combat experience even though his father made him watch fighting moves at various breaks. "What's wrong, Gohan? Why did you stop?" Goku asked, noticing that his son stopped doing sit-ups and suddenly stood up. "Dad, I would like to fight you. I need to know what my current level is," Gohan stated seriously, and his father looked at him for a few moments. "Great, well, I thought so too. You've progressed a lot, but you need real practice," commented the eldest with his hand on his chin. "Then let's practice." Gohan cried, crossing his arms. "That would be his fighting pose. Why not create my own?" "Of course," he thought, smiling. Goku looked surprised at that position Gohan adopted to fight. He didn't know if he had done it on purpose or not, but said position didn't seem to have any opening in his defense. Gohan is quite mysterious, but he will be a great fighter, Goku thought with a smile. "Alright Gohan, attack me," he uttered. He ready to start. Gohan nodded and ran towards his father to attack him. This would be his first fight, and what better than against the original protagonist of the manga. Pom. Goku easily stopped the boy's fist and extended his leg to kick Gohan's side, who was attentive to his every action. Goku was surprised to see Gohan parry the kick with his elbow, but he wasted no time reaching out with his foot, and the result was the same. "Not bad, Gohan," but Goku smirked before helixing himself and hitting his son's side harder, who couldn't resist it. He was thrown backwards and groaned in pain, but thanks to the great resistance that he acquired during these months he was able to stand. "That hit was hard. I still can't keep up with Dad's fighting speed," Gohan mused with a drooping smile. "I didn't have much of a chance of winning either. It was just to find out my level." And there he learned the lesson. It didn't matter how high his power level was. If he didn't know how to use it in a fight, it would be a total waste. "Concentrate more, Gohan." The voice of his father made him snap out of his investigation. "Never get distracted in front of your enemy," Goku advised. Flush. Suddenly multiple images of Goku appeared. It was as if he had multiplied, giving rise to several clones in the form of holograms. "Oh, it's the Zanzoken technique," Gohan remembered. A few times they used it in the manga. It wasn't a bad technique. Quite the opposite. "I'm sure you won't find me," exclaimed all the Goku at the same time as they stuck out their tongues at the little boy. Gohan gritted his teeth at him. He didn't know an exact way to counter that technique because the manga didn't show. Here he would have to think for himself. Let's see. The technique consists of moving at high speed, leaving residual images to deceive the opponent. "They all have ki, so hoax is easy," the boy inquired, remembering. More or less this was how the Zanzoken technique was defined. It remained to find a way to block it in the most efficient way possible. But it is impossible for a person to have two ki, therefore at some point in his movements I will be able to feel his real ki, and that is when I would have to attack him, reasoned the little boy with a smile. Gohan closed his onyx eyes. Meanwhile his father continued to move quickly, but he was quite surprised to see his son with his eyes closed. "I must focus on his ki," thought the minor, applying to the maximum the mental training that he had been carrying out. "Right. I already have it." And then, Gohan crossed his palms in front of his forehead and charged his ki to the maximum to expel it in his 2 hands. "Ah!" the boy shouted, launching a yellow energy beam that left Goku completely surprised. This was very unexpected. Chapter 5, The First Kamehameha. "Ah!" the boy shouted, launching a yellow energy beam that left Goku completely surprised. This was unexpected. That ki attack hit the body of the original Goku, but he covered himself by crossing his arms. And then a layer of smoke covered the area. Gohan saw that with great satisfaction on his face. He had just launched his first attack, a prototype of the Misenko. But throwing it exhausted him. I must learn to regulate my ki consumption, otherwise I will tire easily, and that would be bad in a battle, Gohan asked, panting. The smoke that covered the place vanished and Goku's figure soon appeared. The older man was still puzzled by what he had seen. Gohan, how did you do that? It was amazing. Goku exclaimed happily, but curious to know how his son had been able to do it. The miner scratched the back of his neck, got carried away by emotion, and launched the attack. But still, there was nothing wrong with his father knowing. I felt a strange energy inside me and I tried to concentrate it in my hands, answered Gohan, twisting the truth, and that came out. He hadn't lied that much either. What he did was that really concentrate a certain amount of ki in his hands and release it in the form of a shot. Goku listened to this very amazed. Although he performed his first ki technique as a child, it took him a while to know what said energy was. It's incredible. Gohan is making enormous progress in a short time, Goku reasoned, stunned but at the same time happy for the ability of his son. I was thinking of taking you to Kami-sama's palace so you could learn how to use that energy, but it won't be necessary for now, the elder uttered. Gohan was amazed at that training with Kami would mean remarkable advances in his power. He wanted to know why his father changed his mind. Your talent is incredible, and I'm sure it wouldn't take long for you to master ki. But for now it would be best to prioritize your martial arts training. Raw power isn't everything, he spoke. Gohan nodded, and that was really what he thought as well. His mastery of his ki was good, but he had to improve in combat if he agreed. Do you think it's okay? Goku asked his son. You don't fight badly, but you lack a fighting style, that's why I wanted to train that with you. I think it's great, Dad. I also think I should improve as a fighter, and with you that will be possible, answered the little boy with a smile. Okay, but at some point, I'll take you to Kami's palace. With him, you'll get much stronger, Goku stated, and the younger son nodded. After all, he knew that Kami's palace was the Elysium of any warrior. If he trained there, his power level would increase a lot. But now that his father already knew that he could use ki, he would tell her something that he had wanted to do for a long time. Yes, that was. Hey Dad. Could you teach me how to do the Kamehameha? Asked Gohan excitedly. That was the dream of every fan of the franchise. Goku watched him for a while and smiled, stroking his hair. He was enthusiastic about his son's desire to learn everything. Okay Gohan, he takes 2 steps back, Goku told him, and the boy obeyed with emotion. The first thing before everything is to adopt this posture. He bent his knees and brought his hands up to his left side, then you place one hand on top of the other, leaving space between them. Gohan nodded, writing everything down in his mind. Although of course, the whole process was known, but seeing it like this in person was more exciting. And now you have to focus your energy on the space between the 2 hands, but try to give it a spherical shape. The older son stated. A bluish sphere of ki was created in Goku's hands and Gohan's eyes shone with hope. He was as euphoric as ever. Perhaps the spherical shape allows a greater amount of energy to be concentrated. That would explain why the most powerful attacks are spheres, Gohan thought. And once you manage to condense enough energy, you launched the attack. Aich! Goku yelled, firing his technique at a nearby rock. Boom! The rock was devastated in seconds and Goku brushed the dust off his hands. He turned to his son and noted that he was absolutely puzzled. What did you think, Gohan? Goku asked with a smile, but even he should be able to tell the answer judging by the boy's face. That was amazing, Dad. Let me try it too and see if it works out for me, Gohan answered with a smile. It really wouldn't be difficult to execute. Goku nodded happily and walked away a few steps to let his son do as he wished. He was eager to see how Gohan would fare. Well, I always dreamed of doing this. I'll follow the steps Dad told me. Gohan closed his eyes to clearly remember the explanations. And after that, the little one was placed in the ideal position to perform the signature attack of Master Roshi's Turtle School. Kame Gohan's hands began to form a sphere of Kihame. The sphere grew larger until Haola. Gohan fired his attack at another nearby rock and it was destroyed in a matter of seconds by Ki's powerful attack. Goku saw this perplexed and turning to his son he realized that his body was inevitably about to fall to the ground. My first Kamehameha, great Gohan inquired collapsing on the ground with a smile. He was finally able to perform his favorite technique from the manga. You did very well Gohan, but now you should rest for a while, Goku advised sitting next to him and the little boy nodded with a smile. I have to regulate my energy consumption. The Misenko from before exhausted me and the attack now a lot more, but I'm doing well he mused happily. He already had 2 techniques in his arsenal and a combat style yet to be polished. He felt that he was fully exploiting his enormous potential. There were only less than 6 months left for the events of the manga to begin. But he felt that with his current power nothing could go wrong. Or so he believed. Again 6 months passed and Gohan's 4th birthday arrived, but at this time little son was training with his father. As agreed, they used this time in hand-to-hand combat to perfect the boy's fighting style. The miner continued to carry out his training routines, running around the mountain, swimming in lakes and others, apart from fighting. From time to time they practiced key attacks, but fighting prevailed. Like the one they were having right now. Tam. They collided their fists as well as their legs, but neither managed to knock the other down. Gohan backed away with a big smile on his face. Throughout this year I have come a long way in every way, I owe it to Dad, the boy thought as he returned to his fighting stance. I have 2 techniques, the art of the turtle school and my knowledge about the series, it's perfect, the boy inquired, squeezing his knuckles. But nevertheless, Goku did not come out to attack. He stayed a few meters from him and getting into that famous position he prepared an attack against him. You're not the only one who knows how to do that, Dad. Gohan exclaimed, imitating him and gathering a good amount of energy in his attack. Howla. The miner anticipated Goku's movement and launched his attack first. The jet was not far behind and attacked with his Kamehameha. Boom. Those 2 attacks collided with each other producing a small wave that shook the surrounding trees, but didn't go any further. The 2 energies cancelled out producing a blast that created a gust of wind. Father and son expressed a smile and approached. You have become quite strong Gohan, I am very proud of you, Goku uttered with a smile and stroked little son's hair who smiled. Thanks Dad, without you it wouldn't have been possible. Gohan hugged his father with a happy smile on his face. Are we still training or what? No, today we will rest, replied Goku smiling. Remember that apart from training you have to play and rest. I taught you that. Of course, those are the 3 bases of the turtle style, Gohan added with a nod. Well, let's go home, I'm very hungry. Would you like a race to see who gets home first? Goku proposed to his son, who immediately gave a defiant smile. The 2 ran towards the house quickly. They didn't use powers, it was a clean race that Goku ended up winning with a slight difference. I almost beat you, Dad, he declared the boy leaning on his knees due to lack of air. But in a matter of seconds he came back. Don't even dream of it, Goku smiled before opening the door of his house, and saw that everything was turned off. Sure, until suddenly. Surprise! The lights came on and Kai appeared in front of them holding a cake with 4 candles in honor of Gohan's birthday. Gohan widened his eyes looking at what was going on. He looked for an explanation in Goku's eyes, but could only see happiness in them. Happy birthday, son. I'm so proud of you, Kai spoke with a smile, and the little boy couldn't stand it, and went out to hug her mother. He didn't have the opportunity to celebrate many birthdays in his previous life. And hearing what Kai said, he remembered his adoptive mother. Thank you so much, Mom, Gohan replied, closing his eyes. She has evolved since I was born, and since I decided that I would train. In the manga she became more strict as the years passed. But she looked more serene, all for telling her that he would train. How was today's session? Kai asked as she usually did when Gohan came home. Your father didn't go too far with you, did he? Of course not, Mom, it was a serene session, but we decided to rest for the rest of the day, replied the miner smiling peacefully. Okay. Come on son, go and enjoy your birthday. Kai kissed his head and after ruffling his hair she went to the kitchen. Happy birthday, my little grandson. I have brought you various toys and books for you to enjoy," exclaimed the imposing Ox-Satan. "Thank you for so many gifts, Grandpa." The miner smiled, taking the gifts from his grandfather. He was not a child mentally, but he could play. "Happy birthday, Heath. But now that I think about it, I congratulated you this morning," Goku spoke, scratching the back of his neck, and everyone present laughed out loud. They sat down at the table to eat the delicious cake that Kai had prepared. But both Goku and Gohan weren't filled with it. After dinner, father and son went out to rest on the green grass, bathed in moonlight from the sky, and sat there. The silence lasted a few minutes until Goku turned to his son and gave her a smile. Gohan watched him carefully. "I'd like to take you to Kame House. My friends are there and it would be nice for you to meet them," Heath, the eldest, expressed, looking at his son's eyes. "That's great. I'm looking forward to meeting them too," Gohan spoke, hiding his emotion from him, although on the other hand something terrible would happen. "Tomorrow is when Raditz arrives on the planet. I'm prepared to face him if it's necessary," Gohan thought, clenching his fists with great force. He wanted everything to go well. Chapter 6, Unexpected Visitor. "Are you ready?" Goku asked, looking at his son, who nodded with a smile of pure enthusiasm as he put on the hat with the Dragon Ball. "Yes, we can go, Dad," Gohan answered with a smile, although inside he was extremely nervous about what would happen. "Come back soon," Kai said, seeing how they were both about to leave the house. "Otherwise, I won't prepare your favorite dish." Goku nodded nervously and the boy lowered his head. He knew that he probably wouldn't be coming home today because of everything that was going to take place. In the original serie, she suffered a lot for this reason, but now that I live it in the first person, it hurts to know it, Gohan thought, looking at Kai. Without warning, Gohan hugged his mother, who, despite being confused by that act, returned the gesture with a beautiful smile. "Thanks for everything, Mom," murmured the little boy, separating from her slowly. "This will be very useful for me," he reasoned after seeing a nearby capsule. Just last night he left her there. Inside her there were some objects that would help him to realize everything that he had been designing in his mind. The time had come to execute the plan that he had drawn up as soon as he came to this world. Today he would demonstrate what he had been learning. "Alright, we're leaving," Kai," Goku added with a smile and opened the door, ready to leave. "Flying Cloud," he cried out, calling his Cloud. "Take care," cried the woman with a smile, seeing how her husband and her son climbed the yellow cloud that she rode a few times. The eldest showed her his thumb with her usual smile, and after that they took flight, disappearing into the sky, heading for Kame House. "I'll be back soon, Mom." The little boy took one last look at his mother and closed his eyes. He wanted to enjoy this passing moment of peace. Kame House was on a small island in the middle of the vast ocean, just as Gohan remembered it. It was an extremely endearing place. After a few hours flying over the sky, they were able to see their destination and landed without problems in the area, although there was no one on the beach. "I'm sure they're inside," Goku commented with a smile and approached to knock on the door. For his part, Gohan was a bit anxious. He would finally meet more characters in his 4 years in this world. Apart from his parents and grandfather, he did not see anyone else. Hence the desire for him. A few seconds after Goku knocked on the door, it opened and the one who peeked out to see who was knocking was none other than Bulma. "Goku?" the blue-haired woman asked in astonishment, and immediately the rest of those present decided to lean out upon hearing that name. "It's you, Goku," Krillin yelled with a smile and went outside, accompanied by Old Master Roshi and Bulma herself, quite happy. "Hello friends, I see that everyone is fine, Heath," Goku said, raising his hand with his usual smile, and everyone smiled when they heard him. Krillin was going to say something, but he noticed that there was a boy next to Goku. He looked at him for a moment, and the boy held his gaze. "Hey Goku. Who is this kid? Don't tell me you work babysitting now, haha," Krillin mocked, and the Jet refused with a smile. "Well, he's my son." With that answer everyone was stunned, even Master Roshi's tortoise, who had been listening to that talk. "How is he your son?" Bulma asked him, not believing that the little boy she met a long time ago on Mount Paz was now a father. "Seriously, he's my son," added Goku, scratching the back of his neck, and turned to the little boy. "Come on, go introduce yourself," he persuaded him, giving him a push. "My name is Son Gohan, it's a great pleasure to meet you," The boy introduced himself with a considerate bow and Bulma crouched down. How old are you, Gohan? Well, I'm 4 years old, replied the boy without much delay. She's much more beautiful up close, and she's also the smartest person on the planet. Yes. For Gohan, Bulma was always quite beautiful. And he admired her for her intelligence. She was one of the main pillars of the manga. Oh. You called him Gohan, just like your grandfather? Master Roshi spoke, looking at his disciple, who nodded with a big smile on his face. And what would you like to be when you grow up, Gohan? Bulma asked curiously, and Goku turned around smiling. He would like to hear what his son would say. I want to be as strong as my dad. Gohan exclaimed with emotion, and those present widened their eyes. Yes, that's my goal, he added, smiling. He had no reason to hide it. His intentions were really sincere, and the sooner they knew them the better. That's why he let them out. Wow, that's impressive, Bulma commented, puzzled, and both she and Krillin turned to Goku, waiting for an explanation from him. Don't look at me, it was Gohan himself who decided to be. And well, I'm helping him with it, replied Goku with a small smile. How? Are you training him? And how strong is he? Krillin asked, anxious to know the answer. Come on, Goku. Don't be like that, and tell me. I still haven't seen what Gohan is capable of to the fullest, but Gohan can fight at my level with no problem, Goku spoke, leaving them perplexed. It's likely that at my maximum he will be able to give Dad a fight. I didn't manage to reach 1,000 units, but I became strong, the boy inquired. Fighting at your level at just 4 years old. Without a doubt he's a kid with a lot of potential, Roshi commented, getting out of his perplexity. He even has a tail. Krillin said, a little scared. He knew quite well what that meant, he experienced it in the first person. Bulma and Master Roshi as well. That is why they asked Goku if his son had ever seen a full moon night. They kept catching up on everything they had done and experienced over the last 5 years, until something very strange happened. I feel someone approaching. It's flying in this direction, Goku commented with a frown as he looked at the sky uneasily. The others watched the sky without noticing anything strange, although Master Roshi sensed something. However, Gohan already knew who was coming. I feel his energy. Sigh, and this is where the problems begin, Gohan thought, sweating for what was going to happen. It wouldn't be pleasant living here. And he immediately descended a silhouette from the sky to stand in front of Kame's house. He was a long-haired guy in dark armor. That man was Raditz, Goku's older brother. And just like in the manga, he told her the origin of his Saiyan, telling her that this was not his planet. Goku reacted by saying that he was a human, and Raditz showed him his tail, which Gohan and Goku himself possessed in the past. So actually, I'm not a Saiyan. I'm not your brother either. Goku yelled, refusing to accept reality, and his brother lost patience. I don't care what you think, Kokoro. Raditz exclaimed and walked a few steps before landing a powerful knee to Goku's abdomen. The eldest lay in pain on the ground, while his friends watched the scene in horror. Gohan was paralyzed, not knowing what to do now. I must react now. Gohan exclaimed in his mind, and before he knew it he was now in Raditz's hand. Leave me. Dad. The little boy yelled, but the pain his father felt was such that it prevented him from standing up, even though it's part of my plan. As you don't kill 100 people in one day, or you'll never see your son again, exclaimed the Saiyan as he slowly got up. Wait. Don't. Exhorted Goku, standing up with difficulty, but Raditz was already floating in the air. See you soon, Kokoro, ha ha. Raditz exclaimed, flying south at full speed, leaving Goku with an extremely bewildered look. His son had been kidnapped. Just as Gohan remembered from the series, they stopped at a hill where Raditz's ship had landed. It was a very huge crater. What do you think you're doing, huh? My dad is coming soon and he'll save me, Gohan stated as Raditz led him to his ship. Your father will never be able to defeat me, Raditz answered with a wild smile. If he does that, he would be sealing his death, and his son's death. Gohan felt that it was terrifying to be next to Raditz, but he had the power to defend himself. Although for now, he had something else in mind. If you think that because you have a power level of 1,200 you are invincible, let me tell you that you are stupid, Gohan reproached him without any qualms. Hearing that, Raditz stopped immediately and turned to Gohan, looking at him as if he had grown a second head. He was stunned. The Saiyans settled for their mediocre power when they could have aspired to more, and that's why they ended up extinct. And you're about to die for that very reason. Power level isn't the only parameter to take into account in a fight, but I doubt someone like you knows even that simple. Gohan finished saying all the truths of him. This child. Raditz was puzzled. He doubted that he was Kakarot's son, let alone a small child. In any case, I will measure the power of him. Raditz turned on the scouter in his left eye to start scanning Gohan's power, and the number he dialed there left him a bit perplexed. His power level is 396 units for a simple earthling. It's better to push him away, Raditz thought before giving a confident smile. You say too much to have little more than a quarter of my power, don't you think, child? He asked as he unfolded the door of his ship. Heh, who tells you it's all my power? You'd be in for more than one surprise, Gohan mocked with a smile that unnerved the older Saiyan. Raditz gritted his teeth in annoyance and pushed him towards the ship before closing it. This child managed to get on his nerves. That kid isn't normal, he knows too many things. What kind of son do you have, Kakarot? Wondered the warrior coming out of that crater. Meanwhile, Gohan was laughing. He had enjoyed provoking Raditz. But now he had things to do, although there was one thing that. Is my power level higher than 300? Well, I'm not that far from Dad. I calculate that by releasing my ki to the maximum, I was close to 800 units, he reasoned. He was happy. All this was the fruit of his efforts for 4 years. But in a year he should have at least 6 times that power. Today we don't have to think about that. Gohan shook his head and took some kind of remote out of his pocket. Raditz is extremely absent-minded. While they were flying to this place, the miner took the opportunity to take control of his spaceship, and the Saiyan didn't even notice it. I already have a ship for Nank, now I should learn how to use it, Gohan asked, smiling, and his eyes fell on the control screen. He remembered the buttons that were pressed in the manga to take off and such, but he was seeing if he could add a computer system similar to the one in his world. Well, it's time to put all my computer and mechatronics knowledge to the test, reasoned the little boy, squeezing his knuckles. He took out the capsule that he took at home and releasing what was in it, he took the computer that his grandfather had given him to start his plan. There was much to do, and little time to lose. Soon a great battle would take place. Chapter 7, Gohan vs. Raditz. 3 hours have passed since Gohan began to study the Saiyan spaceship, and as expected he learned everything about it. From the most basic to the motor's function, the boy took advantage of the time to thoroughly study the spacecraft, and yes, he was able to do it. Still, having Bulma's help would be great. The technology in this world is very different, Gohan whispered with a sigh. He wanted to turn this ship into a gravity machine so he could train. Only Bulma and her father could help him with that goal. He looked through the glass of the ship and guessed that the battle had already begun. He wanted to help his father, but misrepresent the story of the manga. Dad must die to go to train in the other world, but staying like this with my arms crossed waiting for him is not something worthy, pointed out the boy. If he had been training non-stop it was for this moment, so he couldn't just stand here waiting. At least he had to see the battle. So Gohan opened the door, and once he was out, he stowed the spaceship in the capsule he had brought with him. He already fulfilled his plan. Slowly he began to climb up the crater, but the higher he went, the more a terrible feeling came over him. Daddy's ki is going down. Gohan thought, running towards the epicenter of the battle. How could I forget something so important? Damn it. He felt like an idiot. If he hadn't intervened in the manga injuring Raditz, his father would probably have died. He focused so much on studying the ship that he forgot that detail. He just hoped he wasn't too late, or the consequences would be dire. And right away he was able to confirm it. Dad! Gohan yelled with his heart beating 1,000 miles an hour after seeing how his father was taking a beating from his older brother. He turned around seeing that Piccolo was injured, and with one arm missing. By his reckoning Piccolo had already fired the first special beam cannon, which missed. Using the little strength left in his body, Goku raised his head, and when he saw his son, his eyes widened in fear and horror. Gohan, run away from here. Quick! Goku exhorted his son in the hope that he would heed him, and Raditz brutally kicked his head. From what I see, you decided to fight, boy. If you want to see your father so much, I'll soon make you meet him in the other world, haha, Raditz indicated. Gohan clenched his fists, feeling how anger invaded to the most hidden corner of his being. Right now he stopped caring about everything. He just wanted to destroy Raditz. He just wanted to release all the anger bubbling up inside of him. His Saiyan blood burned with the desire for battle, and he would not deny what his body asked of him. You will pay for what you did to my father. Gohan exclaimed, releasing his ki in an explosion that raised the stones and rocks around him. Goku opened his eyes, surprised by what he saw, but the one who was most disconcerted was Raditz. His scouter was vibrating non-stop. 396. 432. 564. 672. 750. Raditz yelled in surprise as Gohan's power level climbed beyond his prediction. Raditz saw how the white aura that enveloped the boy was getting stronger and stronger, and he felt fear for the first time in his life. Flush! But before he could notice, the little boy appeared in front of him at an incredible speed. He couldn't follow his movements. Pam! A fist slammed into his face, causing him to spit blood, and when Raditz realized it, another harder blow landed on his abdomen. How is that brat so strong? Piccolo wondered in disbelief at what he was seeing. This situation made no sense. Goku was in the same state. Despite having trained with Gohan for more than a year, he never thought that his power was so enormous. Damn. Now you'll see. Raditz kicked the boy in the stomach and hit him in the face, sending him crashing into some rocks. Gohan! Goku shouted after contemplating the latter. He wanted to help his son, but his body didn't respond to him. He had received severe injuries. Raditz wiped the corner of his lips, noticing that there was a trickle of blood on them. Kakarot's son has managed to harm me. His power is abnormal. If I don't finish him off, he will be a great nuisance in the future, the older Saiyan reasoned. But just as he was about to walk towards the rubble where Gohan landed, the boy stood up without abandoning the momentum from before. Blood trickled down his forehead and his suit was shredded in several places, but right now that wasn't important to Gohan. You again. Raditz clenched his teeth in annoyance. I'll finish you off before you continue to cause me more trouble. I already told you that you will pay for hurting my father. Gohan exclaimed with more intensity than before, and his ki aura became more colossal. Raditz turned on his scouter again, and the figure he dialed left him speechless. 1,603 power units. It even far exceeded his own. Why does this child have so much power? What the hell is it that's driving him? Raditz didn't understand anything. He was puzzled. The warrior was unaware that the existence of the Yuki, one of the three components of the ki that at this time had increased in Gohan. The Yuki as such was based on the emotional disposition and courage of a person at a certain time. Just like now. Raditz didn't think twice. He raised his hand and began to gather energy. Several rays surrounded his hand until they originated a sphere of energy. Die at once. Raditz launched his attack at the boy, but to his surprise Gohan simply deflected it by stretching out his right arm. Before he could say anything, a fist pierced through his armor. Spinning in the air, Gohan kicked Raditz in the face without wasting time. The Saiyan could hardly react. Kame. Haim. Gohan gathered all of his ki into a sphere while Raditz still hadn't recovered from the previous attack. Haima. Raditz took the attack squarely. Oh sure. The power levels. Goku 350. Higher than anime because he has trained with Gohan. Without the heavy clothing 425 units, and with the Kamehameha it's 932. Piccolo 322. Just like in the Serie. Without the heavy clothing 408, with the Mekanka Sappo it reached 1,330 units and 1,440 the second time he cast it. Raditz 1,220. Gohan 396, almost on par with Goku without the heavy clothes, as mentioned in the previous chapter. Gohan full power, 750. Angry Gohan, 1,603 higher than in the manga where he reached a total of 1,307 units, but of course here he has trained. It's logical then. Chapter 8, Consequences. Kame. Haim. Gohan gathered all of his ki into a sphere while Raditz still hadn't recovered from the previous attack. Haima. Raditz directly received the attack. At that very moment a layer of smoke rose and covered the sight, blinding everyone present. Goku coughed slightly from the smoke, but he still couldn't get out of the bewilderment he was in right now. Gohan defeated the Saiyan. This is incredible. I knew Gohan was strong, but I didn't imagine he was that strong. Goku reasoned, looking at the figure of his little son. Gohan was panting heavily after the effort he had made. His ki was depleted after throwing that Kamehameha at Raditz. He shouldn't be able to stand up. I reckon that with that attack my power level was higher than his, thought the boy smiling tiredly. Piccolo was just as surprised as Goku. His Mekanka Sappo barely managed to hit Raditz's shoulder, but this dwarf simply defeated him. That brat has a lot of latent potential if he's trained properly. Piccolo thought and noticed that the smoke had finally cleared. Everyone could see Raditz, but his armor was totally destroyed and his body full of wounds. The Saiyan couldn't even stand. Can't be. Piccolo shouted upset. Gohan was dumbfounded. Despite his attack, Raditz was still alive. He knew the Saiyans were tough, but this was on another level. This is bad, I'm out of energy, and I doubt that Dad is feeling any better, although there is still Piccolo the younger pondered the options. Why you thought that you were going to defeat me with that? Raditz asked with a smile, now you'll see what a Saiyan is capable of. The Saiyan flexed his arm, and in the palm of his hand began to accumulate energy until it formed a ball of energy that disconcerted everyone. But Gohan recognized the technique. Shit, it's a power ball. If you throw that into the sky it'll turn into an Ozaru. Gohan exclaimed in his mind, remembering that technique from the series. It consisted of creating a sphere of energy that imitated the presence of the full moon by launching it into the atmosphere, mixing oxygen and more gases. Thus, the Saiyans absorbed the Xeno of the brute's rays that said sphere emitted, and thanks to that they became Ozaru. That's what Raditz intended. If he does, his fighting power will rise to at least 10,000, enough to destroy a planet. I must stop him now. Gohan reasoned. Just as Gohan was about to launch himself at Raditz, the warrior lowered his arms and his body began to tremble without him being able to help it. And Gohan knew what it meant. It seems that I did defeat you. The boy commented, smiling. How stupid, how can you think of using a power ball with its vital energy almost at zero? Vegeta in the manga was able to do it since he had energy to spare for it. But Raditz, being so injured, couldn't bear to do the technique. The Saiyan fell to the ground completely lifeless and Goku sighed in relief. He put all his will to get up and walk towards his son Gohan. You did very well, son, I'm proud of you, Goku said with a weak smile, and Gohan turned quickly upon hearing such words from his father. Don't try too hard, Daddy. The boy helped him to support himself, and immediately realized something. Dad is alive, that means that. Ugh. He had changed history. With the defeat of Raditz he prevented the death of his father, and with that he had just modified the events of the manga. It was ineluctable that something like this would happen at some point. The whole story changed when he decided that his father would train him, then everything changed. I created another time ring. A new timeline, although it's not such a drastic change, Gohan thought, trying to see the positive side. If his father hadn't passed away he could go train with Kaio-sama anyway. Otherwise he would ask Bulma to make a gravity pod using Raditz's spaceship as a base. He had 1,000 options. After pondering that, he felt much more relaxed. He walked towards Raditz with his father, and the Saiyan was still alive despite everything. Why you think that everything is over? Haha, in a year my two friends will come to conquer this planet, Raditz warned them. Goku and Piccolo were stunned again. If they could barely manage with Raditz, they couldn't imagine what would happen to the other two Saiyans. Dad and I are also Saiyans. Within a year we will become stronger and defeat them, replied the confident boy. I'd like to see that, ha 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 ha, Raditz laughed before releasing a mouthful of blood from his injuries. Enjoy your lives while you can. They were his last words. Raditz exhaled his last breath of life and died, before the gaze of his younger brother and his little nephew. Raditz could have gone further. He is a Saiyan after all. What a waste, Gohan inquired, looking at him with some pity. The older son was peering at the body of his brother for a few moments and finally turned to his son, crouching down to his height. Gohan, that thing you did was fantastic. If we train your powers for a year. Goku spoke, but Gohan suddenly stopped his words. It won't do much for us to train like this against the opponents that come, Gohan indicated, denying. They are more terrible than Raditz. I know, Gohan, but I can't think of anything else we can do. Apart from going to train with Kami-sama, of course, the older man proposed, looking at him. Gohan nodded at that. If they went to Kami-sama, the guardian would most likely send his father to train with Kaio-sama. That's what we'll do, Dad. According to my calculations, the weakest Saiyan would have around 7,500 power units. The little boy commented. Goku was stunned, but before he could say anything else, Bulma's ship landed there and his friends got off it. Meanwhile, two men were listening to the conversation on the other side of the galaxy. These two were Saiyan warriors. The most robust and blue-armored Saiyan was Nappa, and the other, more dwarfed in white armor, was the prince of the Saiyan race, Vegeta. I didn't think that Raditz could be defeated. And even less by Kokoro's son, Nappa stated, quite stunned by what he had just heard. The scouter, in addition to measuring the level of power, functioned as a communicator. That's why they heard all the talk through Raditz's tracker. So that kid has a fighting power of over 1,200 units? Who would say that he would be a prodigy in a low-class caste? Vegeta commented, smiling arrogantly. Though to him, it was still an insect compared to his power level. But he was really amazed at Gohan's power. Not bad for a simple child, haha. Is it okay for us to pay him a little visit? Asked the bald man with a smile on his face. I heard that the Earth is a pretty beautiful planet. If we leave now, it will only take a year to get there, said the prince, laughing. Perfect. Nappa got up from the rock where he was sitting and walked towards where his spaceship was, and the prince imitated said action. There is another man who was fighting Raditz, and his power was around 1,300 units. And Kokoro himself reached 924 power, Vegeta spoke up. And so they say they can defeat us, ha ha ha. I can't wait to get there, Nappa mocked as he clenched his knuckles with enormous brutality. For them, such levels of power were negligible. If his intention was to defeat them, they would have to far exceed his current powers. Once the two warriors entered their respective capsules, they headed to Earth to meet the little boy who defeated Raditz. Chapter 9, Kami's Watchtower. Goku. Krillin yelled, running towards his friend, who was leaning on Gohan due to the countless wounds that were present on his body. Krillin, you came, commented Goku, smiling, and he realized that besides him there were Bulma and Master Roshi. And why you also came? I see that it was a difficult battle. I'm glad that you and Piccolo were able to defeat that monster, declared the old Master Roshi. It wasn't like that, Master Roshi. Actually, the one who defeated him was Gohan, Goku replied, stroking the little boy's hair, and they all opened their eyes. What? Yes, just as you heard, Gohan unleashed all his power and defeated him, added Goku, since after all his son deserved all the credits. Even if my dad and Mr. Piccolo hadn't weakened him earlier, I wouldn't have had a chance to win, said the boy. He didn't care much about the credits. Right now he was too busy thinking about how he would become more powerful in a year. Your son is incredible. If you take him to train with Kami-sama, Krillin commented, and Goku's face became more serious upon hearing such words. Speaking of which, I have to tell you something, declared Goku, and when his friends saw him so serious they knew that he wasn't joking. He told them that within a year 2 Saiyans would arrive, and as if that weren't enough, they were much more powerful than Raditz. This left them speechless. Well, if we warn Yamcha, Tenshinhan, and the others, maybe we can beat them, Bulma suggested, smiling uneasily, and Krillin nodded. If we all train with Kami-sama, we will become as strong as Goku, Krillin exclaimed confidently, and Gohan eyed him thoughtfully. Training there, his powers will only exceed 2,000 units, and at this point none of them could withstand the increased gravity, Gohan inquired. If his father was able to achieve it from the beginning, it was because of his physiological characteristics as a Saiyan, but all of them were human. I wanted Bulma to build a gravity machine for them to train, but I'd better let it all run its course, the boy mused. The little boy turned and saw Bulma bending down with some fear to grab the scouter that was in the Saiyan's left eye. Gohan and I will go to Kami-sama's watchtower tomorrow. I guess they'll find us there in a while, Goku indicated, smiling. That's right, when we get everyone together we'll go upstairs to train with Kami-sama, Krillin answered with a smile full of enthusiasm. Hey, where is Piccolo? Huh? Goku turned around noticing that the green man had disappeared, but he was here recently. He probably already went to train. We should do the same, Dad, there's no time to waste, Gohan advised his father, knowing very well that every minute was valuable. You're right, Gohan, Goku said, nodding, and looked at his friends. We're going home now, tomorrow we'll go to train. Okay, we'll see each other in a couple of months. Krillin bumped his fist with his friends, who immediately called his flying cloud. See you soon, friends. Goku once exclaimed as he climbed onto the flying Nimbus with his son, and both were lost in the vast sky. Did you hear, Bulma? We don't have time to waste. Krillin exclaimed, looking at the blue-haired girl. We should go find Yamcha quickly. Bulma crossed her arms and frowned at the mention of Yamcha. If it were up to her, they wouldn't go looking for the desert bandit. Father and son reached Mount Paaz in a matter of a few minutes. Goku smiled nervously as he noticed that his clothes weren't in the best condition. Don't worry, I'm sure Mom will understand, Gohan tried to calm his father, who nodded, and then the door opened. You're finally back, Kai said, sighing, but immediately she noticed her husband's state. Goku. What happened? Come on in quickly. Kai stepped aside for her husband to enter and led him to the sofa. After a few seconds, she came back with sanitary supplies. Always so attentive, reasoned the minor with a smile, and took the opportunity to rest, although his ki reserves had already returned to normal. Goku explained to his wife everything that had happened since her arrival at Kame House until the battle against Raditz, who was his brother. So you come from another planet? Kai muttered, digesting the news. That doesn't change anything. You're still my husband and Gohan's father despite everything, she added cheerfully. When Kai heard that her little boy was kidnapped by Raditz, she went into an uncontrollable rage. Poor Goku trembled in fear. Who does that man think he is to kidnap my son? She demanded, clenching her fists. You beat the crap out of him, didn't you, Goku? Yeah, Mom, Dad gave him a good beating, and he came to rescue me, Gohan answered with a smile, and the older son blinked at himself. I'm sorry, Dad, but if I say that I defeated Raditz, Mom will think that I'm not interested in studies and she'll be sad, reasoned the boy. That's my Goku. Kai happily hugged the raven with a smile, and Gohan gave her a thumbs up. Now I'll go make you guys something delicious. Wait, Kai. Goku stopped his wife and his face turned stern. I haven't finished telling you everything yet, there is something more important. And then Goku told him about the threat that would come to the planet in a year. A much more terrifying threat than Raditz. For that reason it's necessary that Gohan and I train for a year, otherwise I won't be able to protect anyone, finished the man. That sounds terrible, Kai muttered with her hand on her chin. I get it. I'll accept Gohan accompanying you, but on one condition. I know as soon as all this is over I'll start studying. Gohan went ahead of his mother with a smile, and in fact I would like to ask you to buy me mechanics and electronics books. He honestly wasn't asking for them to please her. He needed them to understand various things about this world. But that later. Consider it done, Gohan. Kai nodded with her eyes sparkling like never before. Now go take a bath. You will enjoy a great banquet. They both looked at each other with a smile, and high-five, satisfied with what they had heard. They would certainly enjoy a fantastic and great night. As expected, the night was great. They ate, drank, and laughed a lot, remembering anecdotes and other things. But like all good things, that too is over. They went to sleep, and the night passed faster than it used to often. Are you ready, Gohan? Goku inquired, seeing his son. Right now they were about to go to Kami-sama's watchtower to train. Yes, Dad, we can go, Gohan replied, squeezing his knuckles. Last night he outlined a plan for his training throughout the year. Please train carefully, Kai implored them, clasping her hands together. Take care of your son Goku. He is still a child after all. Of course, I promise you that it will be Kai. Goku spoke, smiling, and his son pinched his pants, calling his attention. What's wrong, Gohan? Aren't you going to kiss mom? She is your wife after all, Gohan asked, smiling, and the older one looked at him with a face full of confusion. A kiss? And what is that, Gohan? Well, all you have to do is join your lips with mom's, you'll see how she'll like it, explained the miner with a smile. Okay, son shrugged his shoulders without really understanding what he meant and took a few steps towards his wife. Hey Kai. What? The woman couldn't finish when her lips were sealed by Goku's, who pulled away from her after a couple of seconds. Kai stepped back blushing and put her hands to her cheeks. Goku took the opportunity to call the flying Nimbus and climb on it. See you soon, Kai. Goku exclaimed, raising his hand with a big smile, and the little boy imitated the gesture of his father, saying goodbye to the woman. Goodbye, Goku, Kai replied without leaving her bewilderment. Goku has kissed me on the lips. The beautiful woman internally screeched. That was totally unexpected. Well, I did my duty as a son, Gohan thought with a smile. That kiss would help a lot in the relationship between his parents. That's why he induced it. The trip was quite calm. Gohan did nothing but sleep, clinging to his father. They wouldn't see each other again for a year. After a few hours flying, an endless tower appeared on the horizon, and soon Gohan recognized it excitedly. It was Karin's tower. They began to ascend with the flying Nimbus, as Kami's watchtower was just above Karin's tower, high in the sky. Hello, master. The eldest exclaimed upon seeing the white cat with the staff. It's nice to see you again, but I have to go upstairs to train. In that case, here are several beans. Master Karin held out a bag to him, and Goku caught it with a beaming smile on his face. Thank you. I'll be back very soon. Son smiled, seeing his master for the last time, and continued climbing until he was able to glimpse the watchtower. The ascent continued, and as soon as they reached the height of the watchtower, they got down from the Nimbus. Goku got quite nostalgic looking at the place. It's a pretty peaceful and quiet place. Luckily, I don't have vertigo, thought Gohan, smiling, and suddenly he felt two energies approaching. I was waiting for you, Goku. Hearing this, the older man turned to see a green-skinned old man wearing a toga and holding a staff. He was next to a dark-skinned being. So it's you guys. It's been a long time, Kami-sama and Mr. Popo, declared Goku with a smile. Look, this is my son Gohan. It's nice to meet you. Gohan bowed slightly to them, and Kami smiled, seeing the show of respect the little boy expressed. I see that you have educated him well, Kami spoke, looking at the man, who scratched the back of his neck, smiling. Well, let's not waste time. I imagine you already know what our situation is, don't you, Kami-sama? Goku asked him sternly, and the Namekian nodded. Not even training for hundreds of years here would you be able to face those two Saiyan, Kami commented, leaving the boy dumbfounded. How strong are they? Asked Goku, puzzled. Right now he was lost, confused. He didn't know what to do. That's right, but don't worry, there is someone who will be able to train you, and within a year you will become stronger than them, added Kami, smiling. Really? And who is that person who is going to train me? Goku asked, recovering his enthusiasm, and Gohan smiled when he saw his father. King Kai, the king of the other world, replied Kami, looking at him. Tell me, Goku, are you willing to be trained by him? It won't be easy to do it. Of course, Kami-sama. I have to become strong as soon as possible, Goku replied without hesitation, and the guardian smiled at such an answer. Okay, put your hand on my shoulder, and we'll go right away, Kami told him, and Goku nodded, but he couldn't leaving his little boy behind. Wouldn't you like to come with me to see this King Kai? Asked Goku, crouching down to the height of the miner's son. This is the opportunity too. It's your opportunity, Dad. I'll stay here training, Gohan answered. When you come back you'll see how powerful and strong I've become. I have no doubt about that, son. Here are 2 beans for your training, Goku commented with a cheerful smile. See you soon, Gohan. Goodbye, Dad. The miner said goodbye to his father, who left once he put his hand on Kami-sama's shoulder. Well, almost nothing changed. The story was still at the same point as in the manga. His father left to train, Krillin was recruiting the others. But there were changes.
Dad has several senzu beans, so it will take him less time to complete Snake's Road. That's great, Gohan mused, smiling optimistically. Also, he wasn't on the desert island like in the manga. But in his plans, the option of training with Piccolo was marked. It would be very good. It's much more advantageous to train with another person, that way I'll know better what things I have to correct in my way of fighting, Gohan inquired thoughtfully. He sat on the floor and began to meditate as he had done since he could remember, while Mr. Popo watched him intently without flinching. Hey guys. This is What If Gohan Was a Reincarnation Isekai Part 2. I do not own any media. Enjoy. I Am Gohan by Lord Phoenix. Chapter 4, Training 4. Ah. I'm tired. The boy lay on the grass panting from exhaustion. After running around Mount Paz twice, he managed to complete that hell. He really never thought that training was so difficult. What he read in the manga did not represent at all the torture that he had to live this day. To think that I've only been running, but this dogi didn't make it easy for me. Gohan inquired, closing his eyes. He really wanted to go home. If this was an ordeal, he didn't want to imagine how difficult it would be to train in a gravity machine or else in the time room. Not to mention the rest of the scenarios where the Z fighters trained. Gohan understood that seeing it from television was another world. And Dad is addicted to training. That makes him admit it even more. The little boy reasoned, having such a small body doesn't help either. Goku sat next to him watching his son gasp.